Well, messages of condolence and condemnation are flooding into New York City today after two police officers were ambushed and murdered in their patrol car on Saturday. The shooter claimed it was retaliation for the recent deaths of two Black Americans at the hands of police. But he began his day by shooting and wounding his ex-girlfriend. The officer's car was parked on this New York street. The gunman walked up to it and fired without warning. Police had been alerted about his plans by social media posts, but the warnings didn't get to the two officers in time for them to take precautions. Well, New York City is a city that's been hit by large anti-police demonstrations in the last few weeks. Today, things are different. The CBC's Steven D'Souza is there.
Ismail Brinsley had posted a number of things leading up to the shooting, saying that he wanted to take out police officers. And in his words, he said, "I want to put wings on pigs," and said that if they take one of ours, I will take two of theirs. And he referenced Eric Garner as well as Mike Brown, the two individuals here in the U.S. who died at the hands of police and who where the police were not charged, and so those have led to a lot of the protests that we've seen. We're also learning more about what led up to the incident. In fact, we know that Ismail Brinsley was in Baltimore, in the Maryland area, in the morning, and that he shot and seriously wounded his ex-girlfriend, who's been identified by Baltimore police as Shanika Thompson, a 29-year-old. And what they're saying is that she is still in critical but stable condition, and at this point, police have not had a chance to talk to her to gain more insight into why the shooter did what he did and what the motivation was. What they do know is that he stole her cell phone after the shooting, and that's how police were able to track him to Brooklyn, and that they were pinging his cell phone in Brooklyn, and that Baltimore police called the 70th precinct in Brooklyn to warn him that he was there in the area. But that warning, as we've heard, came too late. It came just after 2 o'clock, but the shooting happened just about half an hour after. No chance for police to find Ismail Brinsley, no chance for the two officers to be warned what was to come.
Steve, these have been some tough weeks in New York with the choking death and the protests. What are New Yorkers saying about this today?
There are a lot of calls for calm, a lot of calls for peace, and also for a refocusing on the views towards police officers here in New York City. With all the protests that we've seen over the last few weeks, there's really been a shift in focus where people now look towards police with anger and mistrust. And civic leaders today are calling on New Yorkers to change that. And so we heard from the borough president in Brooklyn. He is one of the civic leaders who today is calling for a moratorium on the protests until the officers are buried. Let's hear from him now.
I'm asking all those to hold off on any form of protest until these officers are laid to rest in a peaceful manner. It's time for New Yorkers to come together. We've been through difficult times before, and this is probably one of the most challenging when someone walks up and assassinates two officers. But we've come through this because this is what we are best as coming together as New Yorkers.
The family of Eric Garner, his mother and widow, were also part of a news conference with civil rights leader Al Sharpton. They as well called for peace and for calm, saying that Eric Garner's name should not be used for any sort of retribution, and an eye for an eye will not solve the deep-rooted issues here. Cardinal Timothy Dolan, who held a mass here at St. Patrick's Cathedral this morning, it was attended by the mayor and police commissioner of New York. He as well urged calm and said that New Yorkers should look to police and trust police and say that they love them and they mourn with them, and that people here need to come together in order to bridge the gap and bridge the divide and heal some of the wounds that have been opened in the last few weeks.
The CBC's Steven D'Souza in New York City.